Hi, I'm Michael Smith for Nevada Trails. Tonight we have a very special show. We have Chris Bear, who is he brought his banjo, and he's going to basically educate me on the banjo and let me know what's going on. How you doing?
Hey, Michael, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I brought the banjo.
Well, I saw you a number of times. One, you were at a museum.
Right, right.
Doing Mr. Ormsby, I
Yeah,
believe.
I did my living history.
And I thought you were fantastic in that.
How could you lose with William the Major?
Well, it didn't have a happy ending.
No, it did not for him.
And then later, just a block from my house at Eddie's bookstore,
Right.
lo and behold, you were there. So I ran across the street and I got my camera. You let
Yeah,
me.
that's down in Gardnerville there.
And you put on an hour show of education, and I learned a lot. And everybody there was really happy with what you did.
Well, that's a fun place, and I see you down there, and it's Eddie's in Gardnerville, Linda's store down there.
Yeah.
It's a bookstore. She just has little things go on in the bookstore, and it's a great place to tell stories, all of them true or better. And another place that I've done that is up at Cora's Coffee in Virginia City. You know, little place, and just talk about the old music and some of the stories. And so here we are to talk about the banjo.
Well, I love the old stories, and like I said, you did quite well. And so, anyways, when I gave him a call on the old phone, and I said, well, at the Coma Coffee, I had, or not Coma Coffee, at the Eddie's bookstore, I had someone walking for me, and I couldn't control the sound. And here we have a little bit better control of the sound in our little studio here. And I asked him to come back, and lo and behold, he did. And I'll just turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, Michael. So I thought what I'd do today is talk a little bit about the banjo. And this right here, this is what we'd call a modern old-time banjo, not a bluegrass banjo. So we're just going to skip the bluegrass for a little bit, but we're going to talk about modern old-time banjo. I'll play you a little tune.
Excellent.
Typical modern old-time banjo, steel strings. This is a White Lady design pot. It's open back, so that's that old-time style where we hit the strings with the middle finger and the thumb. But what people don't know is that style of banjo goes back to the 19th century. Only not this particular banjo. The style of playing does. And one of the reasons I'm interested in this, in addition to just loving old-time banjo, is the history of the banjo in the far west. A couple years ago, I got together with the libraries and started doing research, wrote this little book, which is available on my website. And
Well, actually, don't you have like 5 books?
I have several books, and this is The Miner's Farewell, available at nevadamusic.com. And researched the music of the far west in the 19th century and found, much to my delight, that the banjo was really important. But so I'm gonna work into a song here, an old song from the far west, written in the 1850s on the old time banjo, or what they called the minstrel banjo back then. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences in the music and then the story behind the song, because as with any good song, there's a whole story behind it. This, of course, is the metal strung, modern, old-time banjo. So now I'm going to go over and get mid-19th century banjo, and everyone can hear the difference.
Well, actually, on my show on Immigrant Trails, they said how important music was when they stopped for the night. Was the banjo one of the things that were out there at that time?
No.
I remember they said the guitar, but I didn't know.
No, actually, I did some research on that. Maybe 1870 and afterwards, you'd find the banjo on the wagon trains. But in the 1850s, during the height of the gold rush era, banjo mostly came to the far west by ship. So it came out of Boston, came out of New York, came into San Francisco by ship. This was the rock and roll guitar of its era. It was the new thing in the 1850s. Every young boy would go to the theater, hear this, and it was loud, it was obnoxious. Everybody wanted to play it, all the young boys. But it was new. And so it hadn't filtered out into the rural parts of America very much. It was being played in Boston, was being played in New York City, and it had come out of the plantations of the South, but now it was being put on stage by musicians in blackface minstrel shows.
Oh, wow.
And those came around by ship to San Francisco beginning in 1849. So the banjo was arriving by ship, not so much from overland passage. The fiddle you'd find that on the wagon trains. They'd stop and there'd be a dance, maybe if they didn't just collapse in a heap, because it wasn't all fun.
Yeah, they were tired.
So this banjo is a mid 1860s.
It's in great shape. Looks beautiful.
Banjo. Yeah, it's a lovely instrument. It's exactly the kind of instrument that was played here in the 1860s, and it's very similar to the 1850s style. Notice that the bridge is in the middle of the head. It has gut strings, very high off the neck, and although it looks like it has frets like a modern instrument, those are actually inlaid pieces of ivory. There's no frets. It's a fretless instrument.
So my mom always said, "Don't fret."
Yes, that's it. Don't fret, because you don't have any hair. It's got violin pegs for tuners, because that's all you need for a gut strung instrument, and it's tuned very low. Unlike the high ringy sound of the metal strung modern old time banjo, this is a mid 19th century banjo. Very low, very mellow, very plunky, and yet they would play these in big theaters. Piper's Opera House, the opera houses, the melodeon halls. The minstrel shows would get up with their fiddle, their bones, their tambourine, and their banjo, and they would sing the rock and roll music of the mid 19th century.
Their bones?
They had bones, them bones. They had dem bones.
I know that, but I guess it's really real.
If you come down to Comma Coffee on Mondays when I'm there sometimes, Steve has been showing up lately, a fellow I know. He, lives and works here in Carson, and he plays fabulous bones in both hands.
So that's true.
Bones in both hands.
Okay.
We're going to that's the ragtime music. We'll talk about the ragtime music someday.
Well, I love ragtime.
We're just going to talk. I'm going to play you the song called "Seeing the Elephant" from 1858, written in the Sierra Nevada. Now, this melody
Chris
I'm going to
Berry,
play.
"Seeing the Elephant."
Yes, the melody is from a 1840s banjo tune called The Boatman's Dance, written by Dan Emmett, who later wrote Dixie, and earlier had written Old Dan Tucker, and he wrote Boatman, but then the melody was taken in the Sierra Nevada and put to a new tune, which is how so many of the gold rush mining songs came about. In the Sierra Nevada, people playing the banjo that had come from San Francisco up into the Sierra Nevada and adapting the minstrel show tunes to fun comedy songs about the perils and the vicissitudes of mining for gold. Because while miners expected to come and get rich and pick up gold off the ground and write home to Sally and say, "I've struck it, I'm coming home, we're getting married, and we'll live in a big house on the hill," the fact of the matter was, in the early years, of every 5 who came, 1 died and 2 went home. And 2 stayed, and it was 1 out of 5 dying is a pretty high rate.
Well, I used to live by Placerville, and probably one of those dying was being hanged.
No, well, Hangtown.
Yeah.
There's a song called Hangtown
That's what I was
Gals.
going to say.
We could do that song too. Hangtown gals are plump and rosy, hair in ringlets mighty cozy, painted cheeks and gassy bonnets. Touch 'em and they'll sting like hornets. You probably remember some of those girls. But anyway.
Well, yes, and it hasn't changed much there.
No, I know. The city gals. And that's one of the complaints in this song, "Seeing the Elephant," is the city gals. These boys would go up into the Sierra Nevada. They'd try to pick up gold off the ground, but it turned out that really what they were doing is spending 8 hours a day hunched over with a bucket of wet sand and the sun on the back of their necks,
It's
and
hard
their
work.
clothes disintegrating. And after 6 or 7 months, they smelled bad. Their hair was long and greasy. Their clothes were in rags, and they'd come into Hangtown, and they'd see those Hangtown gals, and hence the lyric in this song, "Seeing the Elephant," which is, "Leave you miners, leave. Leave you miners, leave. Take my advice, kick off your lice, or else go up in the mountains."
Oh,
That's the
geez.
chorus.
I like it.
It's a great chorus. They don't, the far western songs from the Gold Rush era are fabulous. The title of the song, "Seeing the Elephant," refers to the expression that was used in 49, 50, and 51 by everyone coming west. We'd meet on the street in Sacramento, and I'd say, Michael, my friend,
Chris,
have you seen the elephant?" And you'd say, "Oh, yes, I saw the elephant cooking over buffalo chips out there on the prairie." Where else did you see? Oh, I saw the elephant in Carson Pass. It took us 15 hours to get from the bottom to the top. Oh, where else did you see the elephant? Oh, I saw the elephant out there on the Carson River where the traders were selling strychnine whiskey. Oh, you saw the elephant. I did. I saw the elephant. The expression comes because in the 1840s, P.T. Barnum at the American Museum in New York City had purchased a large mammoth bone, and he had installed it in the American Museum, and he charged people to come see the elephant. People didn't know what a mammoth was, a dinosaur, so he put a sign up saying, "See the elephant, 50 cents." People would come in, they'd look at this bone, they'd say, "Well, Michael, I think we've seen the elephant, and we paid money for this." So seeing the elephant by 1842 or so became equated in slang with being flim-flammed and humbugged. Well, P.T. Barnum, being a highly moral gentleman, wanted to ally himself with the temperance movement in 1848 as news was arriving that there might be gold in California. Not only might there be, but by fall, November, December, it turned out that, well, it was really a big find. It wasn't just another small strike like they'd found in Kentucky. And the press was abuzz, and the port of New York was abuzz with this, there's big gold in California. And boys were beginning to ship out. And the temperance movement, highly moral people in New York City, they said, you shouldn't just go to California and try to pick up gold off the ground. That's not the upright way, the moral way. You should work in your store, work in Dad's store, make an honest wage. You know, nobody picks up gold off the ground and lives a moral life. I mean, that's not. So the temperance movement was advising young men on the basis of moral grounds. And P.T. Barnum said, "I'm for that. You know, I'm gonna commission a song." This is now December of 1848, January of 1849. I'm going to commission a song to warn young men, don't go to California. He hired a newspaperman by the name of Thaddeus Meehan, and in my research I actually corresponded with his grandson and got some information. But Thaddeus took the expression that was being used by visitors to P.T. Barnum's museum, I've seen the elephant, as a meaning flim-flam and humbug, and he put it in the song, which is how the expression "seeing the elephant" got tied to the gold rush. So here's the last verse. If you've enough to eat and drink and buy your Sunday clothes, don't listen to the gammon that from California blows, but stay at home and thank your stars for every hard-earned cent. And if the greenhorns want to go, why coolly let them went. If the elephant you should see, the gold no bigger than a flea. You've been to California, and there you will see. Anyway, it goes on and on. And I forget the words, but he's talking about the flim-flam and humbug and the perils of going to California. So miners are coming to California, and they're saying, and they're all 18-year-old boys, good advice from Mom and Dad, but off you go. And seeing the elephant all along the way. So in 1858, a miner in California writes the song called "Seeing the Elephant," and by this time the whole demeanor of the music has changed. Now it's about this raucous celebration of adventure. When I left the States for gold, everything I had I sold. A stove, a bed, a fat old sow, 16 chickens and a cow. Leave your miners, leave your miners, leave. Take my advice, kick off your lice, or else go up in the mountains. Oh no, lots lost my bank at the thimble game. Leave, you miners, leave. Leave, you miners, leave. Take my advice, kick off your lice, or else go up in the mountains. Oh no, lots of dust. Come to the city, get on a bus. Oh no, lots of dust. Come to the city, get on a bus. I fell in love with a California girl. Her eyes were gray, her hair did curl. Her nose turned up to get rid of her chin. Says she, you're a miner, you can't come in. Leave, you miners, leave. Leave, you miners, leave. Take my advice, kick off your lice, or else go up in the mountains. When the elephant I had seen, darned if I thought I was green. The others say both night and morn they saw him coming round the horn. Leave, you miners, leave. Leave, you miners, leave. Take my advice, kick off your... All together with me now, Michael here. Lice, or else go up in the mountains.
Excellent.
Fun song, and very quite irreverent and sort of raw and cutting and fun and juvenile. This is all music by young men in the absence of their aunts and their grandmothers and their sisters and other civilized influences in the diggings of the Sierra Nevada. And that culture comes here in 1859 and 1860 and really helps define the West. And it comes right out of the music of the Gold Rush.
I can picture it being played right now in Georgetown.
Right.
If you've ever been to Georgetown,
I've
nothing's
been
changed.
to Georgetown. Yeah, I've been there. I've been to Coloma.
Yeah,
Hangtown.
I lived in Kelowna.
Hangtown gals are plump and rosy, hair in ringlets mighty cozy, painted cheeks and gassy bonnets, touch 'em and they'll sting like hornets.
I absolutely love that sound.
And it's a fun instrument. Story. That little tune we know today in the field of fiddle tunes, and St. Paddy's Day is coming, and lots of people will be out there in pubs playing that, thinking it's an Irish fiddle tune called Off to California. But when we go back and we look at where it comes from California. It's not from Ireland. It's from California, probably composed in the period 1856 to 1859, and played like that on the banjo. And it's one of its original names was Fremont's Path. Another one of its original names was the Indian Cotton Jig. And Indian cotton was imported in the Civil War into California because the southern states were not producing cotton for the North, obviously. So cotton was coming in from Asia through California, Indian cotton.
And the quality wasn't that good.
And the quality wasn't that good. It was a little rough. A little rough. But
I'm a little grouchy back there. You're very good. Are you teaching the young people the
well,
banjo
you know,
these
I've
days?
got a senior from the high school. I won't put his name on the air since he's not here, but there's a young man from the high school doing a senior project right now, learning old-time banjo, and that's a pleasure to see because this instrument's always in danger of dying out. Some people like to mention that the banjo is sort of the quintessential American instrument. It's the one that seems to define American music. But that being said, it's a hybrid. The music on it is a hybrid of two major sources. One is the banjo comes from Africa. It's an African instrument. It comes over with slaves to the plantations of the South, and by 1820 is being taken by white people, many very often painting their faces black, and initially trying to do the songs that they hear on the plantations and do them exactly the way they were done. But they run through that material within about 20 years, and now it's, well, can we compose some new songs? Many of the people playing it are Irish, and familiar with the British Isles song tradition. So by 1845, 1850, the African instrument is being adapted to European music. And so we think of world music and fusion music today. Well, here it is. This is the original American fusion world music instrument. It's got those driving. In fact, you can see videos on YouTube of people in Africa playing this same technique on African instruments.
Actually, guys, I just thought it came from the South.
And yet now we're playing, by 1850 and after, playing songs that have a real British Isles influence. The big song that put this over the top in 1843-44 was Dan Emmett's little tune that went like this. The other night to kick the dog and see a fight. All the people was gathered round. Old Dan Tucker has come to town. Get out of the way, old Dan Tucker. You're too late to get your supper. Supper's over and dinner's cooking. Old Dan Tucker just stands there looking. Well, old Dan Tucker was a fine old man. Washed his face in a frying pan. Combed his hair with a wagon wheel. Dyed the toothache in his heel. Get out of the way, old Dan Tucker. You're too late to get your supper. Supper's over and dinner's cooking. Dan Tucker just stands there looking.
So back then, how would it hit? Would I just hear you and I'd copy you?
The minstrel shows, after Dan Emmett created that song, well, Dan Tucker, it was sort of like the old movie, you know. He got his friends together and they said, let's form a band.
Right.
Right? So they're a bunch of young guys, you know, and they said, let's form a rock and roll. Well, they didn't call it rock and roll band. They called it a minstrel band. They formed 4 guys, a banjo player, a fiddle player, a bones player, and a tambourine player. That's all you need for a rock and roll or early minstrel band. And immediately did what all good American musicians want to do when they want to make a name for themselves. They went to England, and they toured, and they came back with rave reviews. And by 1846, minstrel shows were forming up all over the East Coast to capture this new sound, this silly music. And it was the rock and roll. And people nowadays, they think the banjo, you know, hillbilly, backwoods, you know, unsophisticated. But this was cutting edge city humor in the 1850s and 60s. And so you'd find this being played by soldiers in the Civil War, miners in California in 1850, and then soldiers in the Civil War. And after the Civil War, 1870s, just about everybody in the world, by 1880, factories are cranking these out by the hundreds.
I was just going to ask
thousands.
how many of these were made?
This one was handmade. Before 1880, they're all handmade. But after 1880, the factories are cranking them out for the next 20 to 30 years. And then the banjo takes a nosedive, and it only survives in the backwoods, back in the hills, back in rural areas. And it becomes that rural instrument that we think of. But it's a big showtime instrument, big stage instrument in the 19th century. And there's players in Carson City, there's players in Virginia City, there's a glee club at the University of Nevada, Reno. In my book, did I mention my book?
No, you haven't.
I haven't mentioned my book at least in the last 10 minutes. In my book, available on my website at nevadamusic.com, The Miner's Farewell, there is a photograph of the glee club at the University of Nevada, Reno. About 12 young ladies all playing the banjo, about in 1890. And banjo is real big for parlor music, and it's being played for things well beyond the minstrel show repertoire, and people are just loving it. And then by 1910, just takes a nosedive. And the other music, particularly horns, bands doing dance music with horns, and only back in the hills are people still playing the banjo and the fiddle. And by the hills, I mean rural west as much as the rural south. If you go to rural Nevada in 1920s, like in Genoa or parts of Oregon and Idaho, these rural communities, you'll find the banjo and the fiddle being played, as it was in the 19th century, because those people are particularly not very interested in that new corrupt music, ragtime. And we should have a discussion sometime about ragtime.
I would love to, but in the meantime, we're going pretty fast on time. Where can people see you play?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. On my website, did I mention my? Okay.
No, yeah, go ahead.
The website, yes, I did mention. But there's a schedule.
No,
I'm going to be up March 21st. I'm going to be at the Visitor Center in Virginia City, 1 to 3.
All right.
Yep, I'm going to be there. Going to be playing a dance that same night at the Children's Museum with the fabulous banjo player Mary Siders. Great old-time banjo player. I'll be playing fiddle, and we'll be playing, that group's called Trainwreck.
You play the fiddle, too.
I play the fiddle for the
multi-talented.
dances. On April 5th, we'll also be there at the the Children's Museum. April 11th, be up at the Virginia City Visitor Center again, playing old-time Western music. On May 1st, Trainwreck will be doing a dance for the Americana Festival. Fabulous, big festival up in Virginia City, the weekend of May 1st, 2nd. Just all kinds of great entertainment is being brought in. If you like old-time American music and you're thinking Americana and I never see it in northern Nevada, well, this is your opportunity to go up there and see some great performances. And we'll be playing a dance Friday night, and then I'll be on and off with a bunch of other people. I'll be doing some songs on the stage on Saturday.
I didn't hear
May
your
2nd.
website. Could you repeat that?
NevadaMusic.com.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it.
So anyway, let me know when we're out of time. Otherwise, I'll just keep going through this. The Hot 2+1 will be out at the Carson Rendezvous, which is the ragtime group. We'll be out there on June 13th and 14th. And some people are probably going to see this and say, I saw him out there last year. Wasn't he out there? Yeah, that was me. And over there in the hay bales in the Mountain Man encampment. You come out there, Michael, and we'll give you some spoons.
Well, we have a locomotive behind us because you'll be playing at the Railroad Museum as well, right?
I'll be, I'm not at the Railroad Museum, but I'll be up at the Visitor Center, and I'll be on the train.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
That's it. I'm on the train. When am I on the train? I'm July 11th, August 15th, June 6th. I'll be on the train in Virginia City with a banjo. How could life get any better?
Well, Chris, we ran out of time. You got to come back and entertain us more. I know we're spoiled, and do some ragtime, and I appreciate the education.
Hey, thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. This is Michael Smith for Nevada Trails, and my guest, Chris Bear. Thank you.
Well, I came to town the other night to take the dog and see a fight. All the people was gathered round. Old Dan Tucker he's come to town. Get out of the way, old Dan Tucker. You're too late to get your supper. Supper's over and dinner's cooking. Old Dan Tucker just stands there looking. Well, old Dan Tucker was a fine old man. Washed his face in a frying pan. Combed his hair with a wagon wheel. Died with a toothache in his heel. Get out of the way, old Dan Tucker. You're too late to get your supper. Supper's over and dinner's cooking. Dan Tucker just stands there looking.
Hi, my name is Michael Smith for Nevada Trails. Back a couple years ago, I was lucky enough to be named the unsung hero from the Northern Nevada American Red Cross. And to tell you the truth, it really helped my charities get a little bit bigger and made life a little bit easier. If you know somebody in your community that's a real hero, please nominate him through nevada.redcross.org. And I'm sure that your community would be glad you did. Thank you very much.